After the decline of the Mauryan Empire, India entered a long phase of fragmentation lasting nearly 5 centuries. Provincial rulers and local dynasties rose and fell, but no single authority managed to unify the subcontinent. This changed in the 4th century, when the Gupta dynasty emerged and forged one of the most significant empires in Indian history. The Gupta Empire stretched across much of northern India from the late 3rd century until around 543 CE. At its height, during the 4th and 5th centuries, it oversaw an era of remarkable stability, prosperity, and cultural advancement that historians later called the Golden Age of India. The dynasty was founded by Sri Gupta, who established the family's rule in northern India. Among the most celebrated rulers were Chandragupta I, his son, Samudragupta, and Chandragupta II, who was also known as Vikramaditya, or the son of valor. The origins of the family remain debated, with some historians pointing to the region of present-day Uttar Pradesh, while others suggest Bengal. Whatever their homeland, their rise coincided with great changes across the world. While Europe faced waves of migrations and the decline of Roman power, India was witnessing the creation of a centralized empire along the Ganges plain. Chandragupta I began expanding his authority around 320 CE, conquering neighboring territories and laying the foundations of a kingdom that would dominate northern India. His successor, Samudragupta, reigned from 330 to 376 and earned a reputation as one of the greatest military leaders of ancient India. His campaigns stretched the boundaries of the empire from the Himalayas to the Bay of Bengal. He subdued many northern rulers, destroyed 9 kingdoms, and subjugated 12 others. Rather than annex every conquered land, he often converted them into tributary states that paid homage to his authority. The capture of Pataliputra, one of the most important cities of ancient India, gave the Guptas a secure and prestigious capital. Samudragupta's campaigns along the eastern coast brought Dakshinapatha and many smaller border states under his influence. These victories not only expanded the empire's reach, but also brought it immense wealth, manpower, and access to vital trade routes. His rule turned the Guptas into the preeminent power of northern and eastern India. Following him, Chandragupta II ruled from 376 to 415, strengthening administration and encouraging commercial expansion. Historical inscriptions describe him as a successful conqueror who defeated the western Kshatripas in central and western India, thus extending his empire to the Arabian Sea and giving it access to lucrative maritime trade. By the early 5th century, the empire under Kumaragupta, son of Chandragupta II, stretched from Bengal in the east to Kathiawar in the west, and from the Himalayas in the north to the Narmada River in the south. Yet challenges loomed on the horizon. Kumaragupta's reign saw the first appearance of the White Huns, or Hephthalites, a nomadic power from Central Asia that would later devastate northern India. He also had to put down internal revolts, such as those of the Pushyamithras. Though not as aggressive in conquest as his predecessors, he consolidated imperial power and maintained stability for a time. Gupta society displayed both prosperity and inequality. Feudal relations developed later than in Europe, but eventually military veterans were granted land and peasants to work it, creating new local elites. Slaves existed in harsh conditions, serving aristocrats, priests, and soldiers, while free peasant communities carried the burden of taxation and construction projects. Agriculture thrived thanks to the fertile river valleys and irrigation systems producing rice, wheat, barley, sugarcane, sesame, and a variety of spices. Mining pearls and forest products also enriched society. Trade expanded both internally and abroad. Indian merchants exported gems, spices, ivory, cotton, and sugar to Rome and China, while importing horses from Central Asia, fine fabrics from Tibet, and even slaves from the Roman world. Craftsmen and weavers thrived in the cities, sustaining a vibrant urban economy. Law and order were strict. Crimes were punished severely, with penalties ranging from fines to amputations or death, depending on the offense. The laws of Manu influenced social structure, ranking Brahmins, warriors, merchants, peasants, and the poor in a rigid hierarchy. Families were large, polygamy was practiced, and the Gupta rulers themselves maintained absolute authority. Princes were trained from youth in warfare, politics, diplomacy, poetry, and music before ascending the throne. The empire was divided administratively into provinces called deshas or rashtras, each overseen by governors, and subdivided into districts. known as Vishdayas councils, assisted local officials creating an organized system of governance. Militarily, the Guptas emphasized cavalry more than elephants. Unlike the earlier Mauryan Empire, their forces were divided into infantry, cavalry, and war elephants, but innovations such as heavily armored horsemen and cavalry archers gave them an edge in battle. The Gupta period was also a time of immense cultural flowering. The strategy game of Chaturanga, regarded as the ancestor of modern chess, was developed by nobles. Mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and literature advanced rapidly. The astronomer Aryabhata proposed that the Earth was round and rotated on its axis, and he explained that the moon and planets shine by reflecting sunlight. In literature, the poet Kalidasa produced masterpieces of Sanskrit drama and poetry that are celebrated to this day. The epic traditions of India also thrived. The Mahabharata expanded into a massive text blending myth and philosophy, while the Ramayana recounted the heroic journey of Prince Rama to rescue his wife, Sita. These works presented ideals of duty, justice, and the eternal struggle between good and evil, shaping Hindu culture and belief. Although the Guptas were primarily Hindu rulers, they were tolerant of other faiths and supported Buddhism and Jainism as well. Magnificent temples, palaces, and statues were built during their reign, displaying exquisite sculpture and artistry. For all its achievements, the empire faced persistent threats. The Scythians to the northwest, and eventually the White Huns pressed into Indian territory. By the late 5th century, Hun invasions grew relentless, weakening the state. Central authority crumbled and regional leaders asserted independence. By the 7th century, the once mighty Gupta Empire had disintegrated, leaving northern India fragmented into smaller competing kingdoms. The Gupta legacy, however, endured. Their golden age established lasting advances in science, literature, and art, and set cultural patterns that influenced Indian civilization for centuries. From Aryabhata's astronomy to Kalidasa's poetry, from the spread of Hindu epics to the refinement of temple architecture, the Gupta Empire became a benchmark of classical Indian civilization, remembered as a time when knowledge, power, and culture reached extraordinary heights before succumbing to the relentless tides of history.